It's time for me to unbox a new chainsaw. This is going to be kind of a fun one though, because this is a new chainsaw from 15 years ago. That's right, 15 years old, but it's still new in the box. And there's kind of a cool story with this chainsaw. This is a Husqvarna 450 Jubilee. Here you can see serial number starts with 2009. So that tells you this was made in 2009. So I'm going to unbox this thing first, and then I'll give you guys the story of it. I'm not sure if Husqvarna still does it these days or not, but in the time of this saw, when you ordered these as a dealer, you could order them as fully assembled, or you could order them with the bar and chain separate. So if you ordered it as the bar and chain separate, then the box was about this big, and the bars and chains were sent separately. This was fully assembled, and we're going to take it out of here. It's actually upside down, so I'm going to rotate this. Take this box and set it aside. Then you can see that has kind of another cardboard here. And here we have it. So what's special about this saw? Well, this was the Jubilee edition, so these were the same price as the regular 450s, but they came with a couple of extra goodies. This carrying case. There's a hat somewhere. Maybe it's still in here. Oh, the hat is not in here, but we've got the owner's manual, the scrunch, and then I believe that the bar was different on this as well. Yeah. So it's kind of a cool piece. The 450 is it's a homeowner saw, but it's a mid-range homeowner saw. And back in my days of being a dealer, we sold a ton of these saws, and they were really good for the homeowner, the weekend warrior, even people that were doing medium amounts of firewood. This was a great saw to get into that. Give you guys a close-up of the bar, and then it's got that kind of special decal there. It's pretty cool. And then this was not the E series, so the 450E had a toolless tensioner, and actually I really prefer the tensioner that requires the tool because it held up a lot better. Chain brake's engaged right now, you can see. And then, like I said, it came with this cool case. Now, the case, like, I wouldn't want to use. It looks really cool. And as you know, a trait of Husqvarna saws, well, maybe other ones do it too, but if you leave oil in it for an extended period of time, the bar oil, and you change temperatures back and forth, you have a tendency to get some oil out of your vent or out of the actual oiler hole itself. So when these came in for service, if they came in this bag, the bag was usually pretty gross inside. So a couple weeks back, I did a video on my Johnsrid 2253, and I had somebody in the comments just roasting me, saying I did not know what I was talking about hot start, about air purge, and I'm going to go through a couple things on this saw just to kind of prove a point. And I'm going to look at the owner's manual here too. But I want to show you guys, they actually made this nice starting procedure thing here that people chose to read or not. But basically, you pull this out, puts it up on choke, then this has a decompression or a compression relief on it, so you push that in. Then you've got your air purge. Yes, some people will call it a primer, and that's fine, but it is an air purge, and the reason it's called that is because it takes fuel from the tank, pushes it through the carburetor, and then back to the tank. I'll pop this cover off in a minute to go over that some more. But then you'll give it some pulls, and then once it pops, you hit here, and because it'll usually pop and die, so you'll flip this back down, and then you'll pull the starter rope. And after you do that, the saw should be running. It will be running on fast idle. I still recommend to start it with the chain brake on when it's on fast idle. And then, once it's running, you can pull this trigger, and if you listen, you can hear the carburetor kick off of fast idle. Now, let's go over the hot start, which is something I talked about on my 2253 video, and it applies to a lot of Husqvarna, a lot of Jonsered. You can see here where it says warm engine. So what that means is you were cutting and you set the saw down, shut it off, let it sit there for 5 or 10 minutes. Let's see what Husqvarna recommends us to do with a warm engine. Step 1, turn this on. Step 2, compression relief. Step 3, purge. We don't do step 4. See, it's crossed off for a warm engine, okay? Step 5, put this down. Now what we did is we put this thing in fast idle. Now we'll pull it and we'll start it. So if you listen now, I just took the fast idle off again. So what I've always done, for hot starts, I've never done the air purge, and I also don't usually do the decompression because you don't need to. But when you walk up to one of these saws and it's hot and it's shut off and you don't want to flood it, you put it on choke and you take it back off choke before you start it. What that did was it turned the carburetor into fast idle. So they start a lot easier. The issue that we used to run into with our customers was that if they took a hot saw, they would try to start it as it is in the low idle position. Sometimes they'd start, sometimes they wouldn't. So then they'd put it on choke, give it a pull. Once you give it that first pull, it's almost flooded. You give it that second pull with the choke up, it is flooded. We're going to go a little further into the owner's manual here now. And for starting, step number 3, press the air purge diaphragm repeatedly until fuel fills the diaphragm at least 6 times. The diaphragm need not be completely filled. Something important to note with these air purges, you will not flood it if you pump it 5 or 20 times, because all it's doing is taking fuel to the carburetor and back to the tank. It's not a traditional primer that you would see on like your 8-horse Tecumseh snowblower, where those would just dump fuel. That's not what this is. Figured some of you guys might want to see under the hood here, so we'll pop this off. I found the hat. It's pretty cool. It's a cool design. This is a cool saw in itself because it is something different. It's that 50th anniversary, and you're not going to be able to find this 50th anniversary bar as a spare part anywhere, or like this decal, this tool bag, the hat. It's all kind of cool. So this is just something that actually my father and I wanted, and this is that's where the cool story is with the saw. So my father and I were running a outdoor power equipment shop in town, and we had Jonsered chainsaws, and we had Toro for lawn and garden equipment. And we were looking to get into Husqvarna. We weren't set up as a Husqvarna dealer yet, but that was about the same time this saw was coming out. So we actually reached out to one of our friends that was also a dealer for Husqvarna, and he sold us this saw. So his dealership name is actually on the box. We bought this saw and then just thought to stash it away and keep it because it's cool. When we started selling Husqvarna at the shop, we sold a ton of 445s, 450s, and then a step above this would be like the 455 Rancher with the 20-inch bar. At that time, like this saw retailed for $369, 455 Rancher was $399, and then like the 353 I think was $439, and then we had the 346 XP, which was 353 is a great saw, I think. 346 was just a screamer. It was awesome. We sold a ton of those, and actually we sold a lot of the 346s to people that were thinking to get 455s, and it was really, really a popular saw for us. So I thought this would be kind of a fun video to do because this thing is old. It's 15 years old already. It makes me feel old because I feel like it was just yesterday when I got it. I'm probably never going to put it to use. At some point I'll have it on display. I've got a couple of other cool Husqvarna pieces, including a pink 450 that will be on display at some point in the future, and maybe I can do a video about that. But that one's a little bit more personal. I actually have I believe it's a 2250 Johnsrud in the garage, which is the same as this, but it's red, straight handle. You know, the differences between Husqvarna and Johnsrud. And it was the first saw that I sold at that dealership. Customer had used it for, I think, 5 or 6 years, and he ended up blowing it up. I think they put straight gas in it, and he brought it back to the shop and gave it to me. So I have that saw in the garage, and I want to rebuild that. I'll probably do a video series on that just because it would be fun. And there's that history with it where it was the first saw that I sold. So I've got a few saws that I want to have on display at some point. This is one of them for obvious reasons, and like I said, it's cooler than just the fact of it being this 50th anniversary or this Jubilee saw. It's got some other, you know, meaning in it as well when we were starting doing the Husqvarna dealership. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I thank you for coming along with me on my YouTube journey. It's been fun. I've got a lot of support from a lot of people, and I really appreciate that. And I cannot wait to get outside and do some stuff. This spring and summer, we're going to start working and making our wood yard. I'm actually going out tomorrow to make plans for trees that we're going to harvest from there, and also the spot that we're going to build for doing our sawing and splitting and staging our firewood. So I want to thank you guys again for watching. Subscribe for more.